Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Super Bowl 57 Decoded. It's going to be a deep dive Gematria decode into the Super Bowl, not only connecting it back to past Super Bowls, but other big events that have happened on the world stage, including ties to the Chinese Year of the Rabbit, as well as the Shemitah, and really going back to the origin of Skull and Bones. This is going to be packed full of connections. Probably my most comprehensive decode I've ever created. And again, just to remind you, I do not watch sports. I know nothing about the players of these teams or the head coaches. So this is completely unbiased. I'm just going into this with the eyes of a decoder. So let's get going. Before we go in any further, this content is not financial advice. WatersAbove is not a financial advisor. This content is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and use any materials in this content as entertainment materials and not financial investment, tax, or legal advice. Again, this is not a prediction. It is a decode. Do not use this decode as betting or gambling advice. Suggestions or posts regarding betting or gambling advice is against community guidelines and our server rules. Okay, so let's get going. We have the Kansas City Chiefs against the Philadelphia Eagles, and we're going to be breaking this down very thoroughly. But first and foremost, for any of you who have not watched my Year of the Rabbit Decoded, definitely go check that out. It's available here on Patreon. I'm going to be just doing a quick recap of some of the important numbers that we've gathered from that past decode. And then as we go through this, we're going to start to determine the energy that these numbers give us. And that's a very important theme to this whole decoding process, and it's something that we did last year with the Year of the Tiger, connecting it to the numbers 15 and 47 as well as 14 and 43, and determining the energy to determine that the Rams would win the Super Bowl. So we're going to be using a very similar system to last year, but this one's going to be way more in depth and a lot of connections. So we have Super Bowl LVII, and just typing in LVII, of course, this is 57, but that's in Roman numerals. Here we're doing it with Gematria, and you could see that gives you the 52 and 25, same connection to Rabbit. So this Super Bowl is the 2022 season championship, and we are currently in the Year of the Rabbit, but the 2022 NFL season was technically during the Year of the Tiger. So that made my decoding a little bit more advanced because I had to go and compare prior iterations of these Years of the Tiger, Year of the Rabbit, etc., and try to make my connections using the system. And also the Super Bowl date is changing every single year, so it requires an immense amount of research. So I hope you guys enjoy this presentation. Okay. We have the Roman numerals LVII for 57, and just taking 5 plus 7, you have that 12, again connecting you back to Rabbit. This Super Bowl Sunday standard date numerology is adding up to 12, so again, another connection. And just a reminder, the rabbit symbolism is tied back to Venus, Aphrodite, or the moon, Luna. It's to both, more like this divine feminine energy. And you could see right here that Rabbit giving you 25, LVII giving you 25 in the same cipher, Venus also giving you 25, another connection back to that Rabbit, and Moon giving you 57 just in standard English ordinal, again connecting us back to Super Bowl 57. And you could see the two date numerologies giving you the 57 and 12 right back to the Rabbit and Chaldean being 12, and this date numerology all coming back to the Super Bowl. So it's pretty amazing how no matter how you chop this up, it was like they designed the Super Bowl to be on this exact day. It's like amazing how it's all set up like this. And Luna, of course, giving you the 12, again tying you back to that moon and rabbit symbolism. And you could see both forms of date numerology match the key numbers for this Super Bowl 57. Again, just kind of zooming in a little bit further, but you could see from Chinese New Year, which was on January 22nd of 2023, when we entered the Year of the Rabbit, until this Super Bowl Sunday is exactly 21 days. And this is another form of date numerology. I don't do it as often, but it is important if you'd like to consider it. But the 21, just the mirror of the number 12. And again, moon giving you 21, so that ties us back to the rabbit. And both Chinese New Year and Super Bowl Sunday have that standard date numerology of 12, rabbit equaling 12, and just for fun, the word win equaling 12, and this connection back to Aphrodite with 37, game winner equals 37, and this is important just because 37 is the 12th prime number. Just having fun with that connection with a win and game winner. So this is where things really get deep, and shout out to Logan over at Decode Your Reality for about a year and a half ago being the first person that I've ever seen utilize the periodic table as a part of the decoding system. So I actually decided to go into that today just because of Super Bowl 57. I went to the 57th element, which is a lanthanum, and this actually means to lie hidden in Greek. So it's funny because decoding is kind of that process of looking at these esoteric things, right? What is hidden. But anyways, you could see 57 is 138 atomic weight. So the 57th element, lanthanum, has a atomic mass of 138. And if you take from the last day of the Shemitah, again, Rosh Hashanah is a 3-day cycle, and from September 25th to September 27 was the time frame of the Shemitah, and that only comes around once every 7 years. And you're seeing this connection between the last day of Rosh Hashanah until Super Bowl Sunday, exactly 138 days, tying us back to lanthanum, 57th element, 57 Super Bowl, 138 atomic mass, 138 days. So it's amazing how these connections play out. So let's get into a little bit of the predictive programming by the numbers, and then this is kind of the process of beginning to tie the energy to the events and how we could utilize it for the rest of our decode. So the Chinese New Year, Year of the Rabbit, number 12 NFL ritual, that's kind of just what I'm calling this slide. On the Chinese New Year, Sunday, January 27th, the Cowboys lost with 12 points to the 49ers. This was the 49ers' 12th win in a row, celebrating the Year of the Rabbit, 12 Chaldean, on standard date numerology of 12. This all happening on the day of Chinese New Year. Cowboy equaling 102 English ordinal, and in the rules of numerology, you're going to remove that 0, so Cowboys equals 12, and that's how many points they scored in this game when they lost. So this was all a 12 ritual on the Year of the Rabbit. That's why it's really important that you guys pay attention to the Chaldean cipher. It does work, and again, that's another shout out to Logan for being the person who influenced me to use that cipher. So another gem is the Cowboys won 12 games in this season before losing to the 49ers, allowing them to win their 12th straight game. So the 49ers won 12 games in a row, all tied to this ritual. Absolutely amazing. And a fun little fact that I looked up right before I did this decode was trying to figure out what teams have not won a Super Bowl, and 12 of them haven't won a Super Bowl. And it's interesting that one of them is the Arizona Cardinals, which is the stadium that the game is going to be played at near Phoenix, Arizona, specifically in Glendale, Arizona. Phoenix, tied to the Phoenix Rising from the ashes, and we're going to be getting into that later in the decode. But another one is the Cincinnati Bengals, and it's like they can't catch a break. So we're going to be bringing that up a little bit later too, because we just saw the Cincinnati Bengals lose again. Very important game they lost to. So here we're going to get a little bit deeper into the code and show how some of this energy gets canceled out, how we have a positive energy, and then as a decoder, you might go ahead and perceive that a similar connection might equal the same thing, but that's not always the case. It's always like this as above, so below mirror effect. And this decode is really going to help people who are new to decoding and to kind of prevent you from making some of the rookie mistakes that happen in the decoding process, especially when you're looking at sports. So we recently had the World Cup. Argentina won the last World Cup. We have Lionel Messi was the MVP. He was the talk of the town. This, of course, tied to Argentina, where you got the gold sun, the sun Leo, and Lionel has the name Leo for short, and Messi, or the Messiah. And of course, he gets, to kiss the ring, as they call it, or I call it the key. Because if you look at these Super Bowl trophy and the World Cup trophy, and a lot of these trophies, they fit into a keyhole, which is symbolism, goes back to the Vatican. If you're aware of what the Vatican looks like from the bird's eye view, it's all tied into that symbolism. But we're not going to get into that today. It's just talking about this gold symbolism and how the 49ers are tied to the gold rush, which actually happened 1 year after the Shemitah back in 1847 into 1848, just like how the Jubilee is practiced the following year after the 49-year cycle. And that's all what this is tied back to. The 49ers, 7 Shemitahs times 7 cycles, the 7 gives you 49, 7 squared. So this team is named after the peak year of the gold rush, 1849, and that's all of their symbolism is gold. So it's funny how, of course, it ties back to the Shemitah concept as well. And if you add up 1 plus 8 plus 4 plus 9, it's giving you 22. And Argentina won the World Cup in the 2022 year, and this upcoming Super Bowl 57 is for the 2022 season. So we have 1 winner and 1 loser, and they're both wearing the 10. We're going to go a little bit deeper into this guy specifically and how it was all a ritual. So look at the numbers here. We have this was the starting quarterback from the 49ers. He played up till he got injured last, 57 games into the 57 Super Bowl, and 40 wins and 17 losses, again adding up to 57. And his name, the way it's written on Wikipedia, adds up to 57, Chaldean. So if anyone was decoding this guy leading into the Super Bowl, they might have assumed that the 49ers would go all the way just because of some of these connections. But anyways, this guy got injured. He got injured earlier in the season before the 49ers actually went into the playoffs. So I'm just calling this the Jimmy Garoppolo predictive programming. So the last time he played against the prior Super Bowl champions of the 56th Super Bowl, the LA Rams, the 49ers won with 31 points. And in the 12th week of this season, they beat the Saints 13-0. And we've been talking about this number 12 tied to the rabbit. Well, they won this game 13-0, and this was their only shutout game of the season. Again, you have that 31, as above, so below, 13. And then in the 13th week of the NFL season, Jimmy Garoppolo gets injured, okay? So showing you this negative aspect, all to this number 13. And the last game of the regular season, the 49ers beat the Cardinals, and they scored 13 points. This is significant because Super Bowl 57 is played at Cardinals Stadium in Arizona this year. This game against the Cardinals led to their 13th win of the season. And then the 49ers actually went to win 12 straight games, and then they failed on their 13th attempt, and they lost to the Eagles, and the Eagles scored 31 points this game. Amazing. So the only Super Bowl the Eagles ever won was actually in 2017, and they scored 41 points in that game, and 41 equals the 13th prime. And they finished that regular season that year with 13 wins. So this number 13 is heavily tied to the Eagles. I can almost guarantee if they weren't playing if the 49ers were not playing the Eagles in the last game, it would have turned out differently. But because of this 13 tied back to the Eagles, it's important that it goes that way. So Year of the Rabbit, which is also called Year of the Hare, and you could see that down here. If you were to look into the rabbit year, it's mostly just tied to the hare as well. And we get some 13. So Hare and Chaldean giving you 13. And we also get this 22, 23, and 32 connection, which ties to the year we're in. And the NFL season goes through the year 2022 into 2023, with the actual Super Bowl date being in 2023. And you could see right there that our Super Bowl is going to be happening during the Year of the Rabbit. And just quickly to tie this all together with this number 76 that we're getting in here, that's 7 plus 6 equals 13. And this connects us to the 76ers, which is another Philadelphia team, and it has a lot to do with the first capital of the United States of America. It's all ritualized in. And Water Hare, which is specifically the name of this year, and Chaldean giving you the 31. So you have the 13 in Hare, and then as above, so below, 31. We already talked about that 31 connection back to the Eagles, which was the last game they played. They scored 31 points to win. Okay, so you could see right here that I'm actually just revisiting that conference championship game that happened a couple days ago. And the 49ers go on to win 12 straight games and then fail in the 13th game and lose to the Eagles, who scored 31 points. The score was 31-7, and if you subtract 31 and 7, you get 24. And during this game, Elon Musk actually wrote out a tweet, and I decoded it really quickly to share it on my Twitter, and it was just the omega symbol. And that omega symbol is, well, omega is the 24th letter in the Greek alphabet, and this 24 tying it to the English alphabet is the X, and you know this X is all over this guy, x.com, SpaceX, etc. He named his last child X. And if you put the pieces together, this basically ties us back to Jupiter with that 24. You could see that right there. And the only Super Bowl the Eagles won was Super Bowl LII, and the date of that game was on February 4th, the 2-4 date in the Gregorian system. And another side note, the Philadelphia Eagles were established 89 years ago into this current Super Bowl right now, and that's the 24th prime number. So you got to pay attention to that. Now, let's get to their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Very interesting name. And the Eagles' starting quarterback is Jalen Hurts, who is currently 24 years old, another 24 connection. During this game against the 49ers, he broke a record for the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a season. Very impressive. And that was 15 touchdowns. So we used this number 15 all last year, connecting to the Tiger. We were in the year of the Tiger. We have that 15, which is associated with Jupiter. So this 15 touchdowns record was just a Tiger ritual. It was a Jupiter ritual. Okay. And he broke this record at a very young age. So clearly this is very significant year for this player. You want to keep that in mind. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the symbolism that's going on in this picture tied to the tiger, the striped planet, Jupiter with the 24, and everything that's going on here. And this eagle right here is actually Mercury. It is a symbol of Jupiter, but it is Mercury or Hermes or Thoth. This is very important to talk about, and it's something I brought up in my live streams here and there, but I wanted to just revisit this concept to you guys. And of course, you have the caduceus, this being the eagle at the top, and there you go. It's a very important symbol. And now, why this matters so much talking about Mercury or Hermes is because we are in the 2022 NFL season, which is the 103rd season in the NFL, and Mercury right there giving you the 103 and the 23, and we're in the 23 year. We're in the Hebrew year 5,783, and 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 3 equals 23, in the Gregorian year of 2023. Again, I've been talking about this a lot lately. And Mercury equaling this 103. 103 is the 27th prime number, and that also ties back to Jupiter and Chaldean, 27. So just to stay on track, Mercury is the messenger of the gods, thought or Thoth, god of financial gain, commerce, merchandise, also known as the trickster, because he is the god of the fiat money system, which is the prince of the power of the air. That's what Mercury is. Money created out of thin air. And Mercury Hermes is the eagle. And this is important to consider, this god of financial gain and thoughts and the messenger of the gods, and this all being tied to money, because money or currency is thoughts. All of how commerce works is just the mind, it's thought. That's a very important thing to consider as well. So the only Super Bowl the Eagles won was Super Bowl LII, Super Bowl 52 for the 2017 season, and this was in the Chinese year of the rooster. So this is a key thing to consider because we're not in the year of the rooster right now, okay? So Super Bowl 52 does connect us to the rabbit by the code, but other than that, not too much to say here, but they did win with that 41, and I think it's interesting how the Patriots had that 33. You guys know that 33 is a very powerful number. So let's move on to some deep diving, okay? I actually plotted out all the years that the Eagles and the Chiefs played in Super Bowls and tied it to the Chinese zodiac year. So this is really going to go deep, but I think it will be very helpful for us because you're going to see how important this Chinese year matters in determining these sports outcomes. So right here we have the 15th Super Bowl in 1980, they lose. Then you have the 39th Super Bowl in 2004, they lose. And then the 52nd, they finally win. And here we are on the upcoming one very soon. So from the Super Bowl 15 to 39 was a 24-year span. Remember, the current quarterback of the Eagles is 24, and we were talking about those Jupiter connections. So it was a 24-year difference between this Super Bowl and this Super Bowl into the year 2004. In the rules of numerology, you're removing those zeros, you get the 24. It's undeniable. And from Super Bowl 39 to this last Super Bowl was 13 years, and 13 and 24 are two key numbers we keep seeing with the Eagles. Remember all those 13 connections I shared with you guys? They just ended the 13-game winning streak opportunity for the 49ers, scoring 31 points. So here in 1980, it was the year of the monkey. They lose. In 2004, it was the year of the monkey. They lose. And 2017 was leaving the year of the monkey, which was in 2016, and they entered the year of the rooster, and they finally win. So you got some evidence here of the connections. And the two Super Bowls they lose are in the year of the monkey, and the time they finally win is outside of that energy. Then we have the Chiefs, and it's their first Super Bowl they played ever was the first Super Bowl. So that's pretty amazing how they were in that initial Super Bowl for the NFL, and then they played a couple years later in the fourth Super Bowl. They actually won that one. Then it took them about 50 years to get to their next Super Bowl appearance, which they won. And remember 50, it's very important. And then they played the following Super Bowl, and here they are just a couple years later playing this one. So in the last 4 years, they've been in 3 Super Bowls. So they've been really pushed into these final games. It's very interesting. And you're going to see here that there's not a lot of connections with the Chinese year for the Chiefs, but you're going to see at the end of this decode that there actually is. It's just playing through different teams, but with similar symbolism. And that's why the symbols mean everything. Okay, so 66 was the horse. They lose. They win in the rooster, win in the pig, and then year of the rat, they lose. So there isn't much of a pattern here for the Chinese zodiac, but something interesting to consider is how there was 50 years in between. There are only 2 Super Bowl wins. And this connects with that 50-year Jubilee concept that I talk about a lot. And the 49ers lost their last game against the Eagles, and we're in the Jubilee now. So that energy not allowing the 49ers into this game during the Jubilee. So an important connection to make between both teams, though, is the fact that they both won Super Bowls during a year of the rooster. And they won their first Super Bowls ever during the year of the rooster. So the the Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls, but they're both winning their first one during that specific year. So that's important. And both teams have never faced each other in a Super Bowl before. And both teams have never played a Super Bowl during a rabbit year. So this made decoding very difficult for me because I'm limited in data for these 2 teams. They've never played each other before. And in this particular Chinese year, they've never attended a Super Bowl. So let's get into some of the code, and I'm sure decoders have already revealed this, which is kind of why I'm just saving it till later in the decode. It's not as important, but it shows you what's working here. So the Chiefs versus the Bengals Conference Championship, which just happened a couple days ago, the score was 20-23, which is the 2-2-3 in the rules of numerology, and we're in the 2-2-3 year. And this was the same score when the Bengals lost the last Super Bowl to the Rams. And this game ended essentially the same exact way. At the last minute, they lose. So essentially, the Bengals had bad luck during the year of the Tiger. It was a clear ritual. Both of their last games in 2021 and in the 2022 seasons ended the same exact way. So if they would have won this game, they would have went on to the Super Bowl, but they lost, which made it till the very end, basically, the entire season. And last season, they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, and they lost with the same exact score. Okay? So you can see down here that Philadelphia and Kansas City put together gives you the 2-2-3. Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs put together gives you the 3-2-2, and Philadelphia just written out gives you the 2-2-3. So again, I'm sure decoders have brought this up already, so just kind of sprinkling that in for extra information. So something that I've been considering is the number of the sign of the Chinese zodiac. So here we are in the year of the rabbit, which is the 4th sign in the Chinese zodiac, and also called the year of the hare. And hare equals 13. The 1 + 3 = 4. And this will be the Eagles' 4th Super Bowl appearance. So The year they won was the year of the rooster, which was the 10th sign. Remember that. They only won one Super Bowl in the year of the rooster, as well as the Chiefs only won one Super Bowl, both in the year of the rooster, which is the 10th sign. And Lionel Messi wore number 10 for Argentina during their World Cup victory. 10 reduces to 1 in numerology, and the QB for the Eagles wears number 1. So we're getting a lot of this canceling out energy, but we have a positive and a negative, and this is what makes our decode very special. It's important to not have bias, because a lot of the time as you're decoding, you're going to come across a positive connection, and you might stop looking for the negative ones. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to remove all biases, and I'm going to try to see where the energy is canceling itself out. Just like in the mythology story, how Uranus gets overthrown by Saturn, but then Saturn gets overthrown by Jupiter. And this energy canceling out is very important to consider in the mythological story. And the mythological story is embedded into everything from Hollywood to these sporting events to religion to all things. So according to the exoteric Chinese zodiac information, the rooster is not compatible with the rabbit. So it's something to consider for potential negative energy. But since we're not in the year of the monkey, we at least know that the Eagles have a chance based on that data point of them losing 2 out of 3 Super Bowls on that specific year. So getting a little bit deeper into connecting the current Super Bowl with the 2022 World Cup, you can see that Lionel Messi was actually born during a year of the rabbit. So definitely interesting leading into this win that they just had. And you could see the total score, 3 plus the 4, and then 3 plus the 2. So France scored 5 goals. Argentina won with 7. 5-7, and we're connecting this to Super Bowl 57. And this all this golden symbology, and you have golden giving you 57 and just basic English ordinal. And Lionel Messi is currently 35 years old, which is 5 times 7. Again, another 57 connection. And the last time that Argentina won the World Cup was in 1986, which was a Shemitah year as well, which has 35 years in between this recent Shemitah, 2021, again, 5 times 7 year cycle, the 5-7. And that, again, was the World Cup with Diego Maradona, who was called the Golden Boy, and he also wore number 10, just like Messi. And that was their second win, and with Messi, it was their third win. Now, this is a wild connection that I found by mistake, and it is the flag of Kansas City, Missouri, which is where the Chiefs are from. And you could clearly see the connection to the flag of France. And then remember in our last slide, we're showing how France lost. All right. So here we have this assumption that it'll be a negative energy for Kansas City. And then we also have this rooster logo, which is the actual logo of the France national football team. France equaling 47, which is the 15th prime. And that is how I determined that France would lose the World Cup during a live stream that I did. I'm sure some of you remember that. So the Eagles won a Super Bowl in the year of the rooster, and we're getting this rooster symbology, but we're getting this connection with the flag. So this is a really, really amazing find. Both France and monkey giving you the 24 in Chaldean. The Eagles lost 2 out of 3 Super Bowls during the year of the monkey, just trying to come up with some negative connections here. And their only win was in the year of the rooster. Again, we have a rooster symbolism right there. So since we're not in the year of the rooster now, but we see this clear connection to France with Kansas City's flag, and we know France lost the World Cup, this is a very important data point to keep in mind. Now we're getting to some of the Philadelphia symbolism, which is the flag of Philadelphia looks very similar to Ukraine, right? And we see this, the Liberty Bell with the city of Philadelphia. So gold symbolism right off the bat. And it's amazing how the Eagles logo, they turned the beak silver, just another precious metal, silver and gold. And really bald eagles' beaks are golden. So just showing you all the ties here, potentially to the sun, Leo, and the Argentina flag. Blue symbolism for sure. We know that the Eagles wear green, white, and silver. Still some currency connections, of course. I know there's also deeper connections astrologically to Scorpio, but I'm just going with bare bones stuff, the exoteric stuff, and trying to point it all out. So quick note about the idea of the Shemitah cycles and what we were talking about earlier with the 49ers and how Chiefs gives you 50, which is for Jubilee, and Eagles gives you 49, which deals with the Shemitah year, which we already ended, and now we're currently in the Jubilee. So kind of a positive data point for the Chiefs. And remember, the Eagles beat the 49ers, so they canceled out that 49 energy, and Eagles equals 49. So it's kind of like a neutral connection. And we're currently in the 50th year of the cycle, the Jubilee year. I'm also getting a big connection with Saturn, which I'm going to show you later, tied back to Skull and Bones, but Saturn giving you the 93, and the logo of the Kansas City Chiefs is an arrowhead. Again, 93, tying you to the Saturn number. And that's in the same cipher, by the way, guys. So this isn't me mixing and matching other ciphers. I'm really keeping this pure. So you could see in this picture during the World Cup, Messi is the only player wearing this black shawl. This symbolism is for Saturn. He is Lionel. Lion, Leo, L, Lionel. So it's just amazing how he wore this black and gold shawl, and it's the only player, and he's, of course, holding up the World Cup. He's holding up the key. Saturn holds the keys, remember? And this recent 2022 World Cup was during a Shemitah. And since this upcoming Super Bowl 57 is for the 2022 season, we need to consider this influence for this decode. We have Saturn giving you 93. This World Cup was the 90th on the 93rd year since the World Cup started. And of course, the last slide I showed you the 93 connection to Saturn and Arrowhead, and this Arrowhead idea makes me think of the Tefillin, this black cube that typically in the Hasidim, Orthodox Judaism, they're tying this around their wrists, around their arms, and then this black cube goes on their forehead. It's the arrowhead, the black cube. Pretty amazing connection. This is connecting the World Series, which again, I'm trying to take everything. I'm trying to take the recent World Series, maybe other NBA championships, the World Cup, etc., and trying to bring this all together. So it's super comprehensive decode. And I want, when I'm done with this, for you guys to share more information on your connections that you've got to other big events, other sporting events, other championships, etc. Even maybe the Olympics, because I'm sure there's great connections in that too. So you can see that the Philadelphia Phillies lost this recent World Series 4-2. We got to pay attention because it's the Phillies and we're in the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, they lost to the Houston Astros. And if you remember in the slide about the World Cup, France lost the World Cup on penalties 4-2. Now, both quarterbacks of each team are both from Texas, but Jalen Hurts was born in Houston, Texas, which that was the last team to win, but he's playing on the Pennsylvania team, the Philly team. So we got energy crossed out, right? And then Patrick Mahomes was born in Tyler, Texas, another Texas boy. Okay, so Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl appearances, get a little bit deeper into this. His birthday is September 17th, which is literally the last day of Rosh Hashanah this year. The last day of Jubilee. So what's amazing is this is exactly 7 months and 5 days from Super Bowl 57, as above, so below. The last Super Bowl the Chiefs won was Super Bowl 54, which was on February 2nd, 2020, the 2222 date, which is 4 2s. And this was the year before the Shemitah. Then the following year, they lost Super Bowl 55, which, remember, 55 ties us back to Satoshi Nakamoto. Well, they lost this Super Bowl the following year during the Shemitah. So the year before the Shemitah, they won. The year during the Shemitah, they lost. And now here we are in Super Bowl 57 in 2023, which is the year after the Shemitah. So this is a big data point for me to have a little bit more leaning towards the Chiefs right now. We're at that point of the decode where I'm starting to kind of make some choices on the energy that I feel is going to prevail as the winner. And this is a big data point for me. The fact that before the Shemitah they won, during they lost, and here we are after. Could be a connection. One important thing about the year after the Shemitah is Patrick Mahomes was born 1 year after the 1993-1994 Shemitah in 1995. And look at the two Super Bowls that we're talking about here. Both game examples have 31 points for the winning team. Remember, we're talking about that 31 and how the Eagles won their last game to bring them into the Super Bowl with 31 points. So they won against the 49ers in this Super Bowl with 31 points. Just like the Eagles beat the 49ers with 31 points to get to the Super Bowl. And then the Super Bowl that they lost, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers scored 31 against them. And Chief equals that 31. So the Chiefs' first game of 2022 was against the Cardinals at the stadium this Super Bowl 57 is hosted at this year, and the game was on September 11th, 9/11. Another energy canceling because it's the two towers and both towers come down. So that's energy being severed. This is the symbolism, guys. It's Joaquin and Boaz. Energy canceled. So they beat the Cardinals in this game 44-21. I'm just considering some of the connections to the Cardinals because of this Super Bowl being in Phoenix at this particular stadium. So they won by 23 points, and that 23 could be predictive programming for them playing in this Super Bowl, which is at this stadium. So their last Super Bowl win in 2019, it was the Chiefs' 50th year in the NFL, and Chiefs equals 50 English ordinal, and here we are in the 50th year jubilee. Really important connection. So the 2017 season was the only Super Bowl the Eagles won. Eagle gives you 17 in the Gregorian year with 17. Donald Trump became president in 2017. Q, which was the PSYOP connected to him, is the 17th letter in the English alphabet. And look at this, bringing back the 57th element to the 57 Super Bowl, lanthanum, with that 57 and then the 138 atomic weight. And Donald Trump gives you 138. It's also Donald Trump's 76th year. He's 76 years old, tying us to Philly, the 76ers. And remember the Q theories telling you that he was going to become president again all around this time, and he didn't? Okay, keep this in mind, guys. This is a negative sign for me, a very negative connection to it all. And I'm not playing the politics game. We're just being honest. We're sharing that these PSYOPs, they play a big role in the effect on human consciousness and belief. So when everyone thought it was a positive thing with the Q and Trump coming back to be president and freedom and all of that, it never happened. So I'm connecting with this 2017, how initially it was a positive thing, but then it didn't end so well. Just like the way a Shemitah doesn't end so well for the market. But that's 76 tying us to the 76ers, which is a Philadelphia team. I think that's a profound connection. So let's look at the NBA. We have the Golden State Warriors won the 2022 NBA Finals, which was the 76th season for the NBA. Again, tied to that connection I just made with Trump and the 76ers. You can see here that all three times we have a 4-2 score. So Argentina winning on penalties 4-2, Golden State winning 4-2 games, which is very normal for the NBA, but that's just one data point connecting us to all three. And the World Series, the Astros and Phillies. So just a connection there. But the real important point to be made outside of the symbolism of everything here is the Golden State Warriors also won the 2017 NBA Finals, and the Houston Astros also won the 2017 World Series. And that was the only World Series victory at the time, just like the 2017 NFL season was the only Eagles Super Bowl victory. And we could see the clear symbolism here with Golden State, with the Los Angeles Rams, who just won the last Super Bowl. And then we have the gold and blue symbolism with Argentina, who won the last World Cup. The Houston Astros don't have the same exact symbolism. They have blue and orange, but it's pretty much close enough. It's way closer than the Phillies, which are like red and silver. But we could see the gold symbolism right there in the World Series logo. And the pennants, the gold and silver. And it's funny to think how the Kansas City Chiefs have the gold in there. It's mostly red, but they do have the gold in their symbolism. And then the Eagles have the silver beak on the eagle. So it's the same exact matchup. It would have been easier to decode the 49ers connected to the Eagles, but they ended up going against each other. So that was a Jubilee ritual. It's a very, very specific ritual. So the Golden State Warriors actually won their 7th championship during the Shemitah, just like the LA Lakers in 1980 won their 7th championship on a Shemitah year. The Boston Celtics also won 7 straight NBA championships into a Shemitah year in 1965, and the Celtics mascot is the leprechaun, which is tied to gold, and gold is tied to the Shemitah. During a Shemitah crash, the only positive performance you'll really see in markets is gold and precious metals. This time right now in 2023 is no different. If you look at the gold chart, you could prove what I'm saying. But it's just so amazing how this Shemitah plays itself into all of this stuff, not just markets, but look at that. Golden State Warriors winning their 7th championship into a Shemitah, just like the Lakers did. Celtics won 7 straight NBA championships into the Shemitah year, and their symbol is the leprechaun. So getting into these connections with the Houston Astros, you can see Houston Astros equals 57 Chaldean, just like we're in Super Bowl 57. So let's just quickly revisit what was on the last slide. The Golden State Warriors won the 2017 NBA Finals, and the Houston Astros also won the 2017 World Series. That was the only Astros World Series victory at that time, just like 2017 was the only Eagles Super Bowl victory so far. And we can see some connections with Argentina winning the World Cup in 1986 and in 2022, both in the year of the Tiger. Now, let's look at the NBA Finals back in 86, connecting it to that World Cup. And you can see Boston wins, but the Houston team actually loses. Now, the coach of the Celtics name is KC, which is an abbreviation of Kansas City, just like we have the Kansas City Chiefs in this upcoming Super Bowl. And of course, this was during the year of the Tiger. So this is where things get very interesting and where we need to consider the canceling out of energy. Now let's look at 86-87 finals compared to the 2022 NBA Finals. And we're going to see that the 86 NBA Finals, which was a Tiger year, Boston wins and the Houston team loses. The winning coach's name is KC. And then the following year, the Celtics make it back to the NBA Finals. This was in the year of the Rabbit, which is the year we're in now. Boston loses and the Lakers win. So just think about the symbolism here, how the KC loses during that Shemitah. Again, this is just canceling out energy for me at this point, but I do think this is an important data point. Now, you can see in the 2022 year, it was the Tiger year, bringing us back to the 86 connection. Boston loses again, and the Golden State Warriors win. But this was during a Shemitah, all right? So during the Shemitah, we're seeing the Celtics lose. Gold loses during the Shemitah. Everything loses regarding finances during a Shemitah, right? But I do think it's hard to determine because these guys are called the Golden State Warriors. So by the name, it does confuse, and I think that's what's important by getting into some of the colors. Perhaps if you wanted to get into some of the astrology, that might help you dial things down a little bit more. But for me, I'm doing this system right here, and then I'm looking where the energy gets canceled out and making the connections to see what's prevailing, more positive than negative, just like I did on the last Super Bowl. So the last Rabbit year Super Bowl was Super Bowl XLV on February 6th, 2011. This was 3 days into the year of the Rabbit, and the Pittsburgh Steelers lost, which is another Pennsylvania team, just like the Eagles. And they lost with 25 points, which Rabbit equals 25. Now, remember the 103s we were talking about earlier? Well, Steelers equals 103, English ordinal, just like Mercury equals 103 in the same cipher. We're currently in the year of the 103rd season in the NFL, and I showed you how the Eagles symbolism is tied to Mercury. So was that Pittsburgh team predictive programming for this current 103 year? Probably. And you can see Steelers equals 31, full reduction. And in this Super Bowl during the year of the Rabbit, the Steelers lost to the Patriots, who scored 31 points. And Chief equals 31 and ties to the Rabbit with the 25 as well. So since we're seeing the number 12 and 21 a lot from my year of the Rabbit Decoded, note that March would make more sense being the first month in the calendar. It's a little bit esoteric, but hang out with me here for a moment. And the example of what I'm talking about here is that sept prefix for septim is 7, oct like an octagon should be 8, nov for 9, Des for Dechi or decimal, giving you the 10. January or Janus should actually be the 11, and that would make February the 12th month. So remember, we keep talking about 12 with this rabbit, and typically all Chinese New Years are into February, very close, or if not starting in the month of February. So that is a very key data point for sure. This would essentially make February the 12th month in the sequence. So to be honest, March 20th, the spring equinox or the vernal equinox, would make a lot more sense being the actual New Year, not January 1st. And what's funny about this year, March 20th, is it will be starting the 12th week of this year in the Gregorian system. So another 12 connecting to the spring equinox, which has everything to do with my Year of the Rabbit Decoded, because the springtime tying to Easter, the Easter bunny, all about the rabbit, all about Venus. So let's break down the Super Bowl date this year in this more esoteric fashion. So we have February, we're talking about it being the 12th month in the cycle, and the Super Bowl is on the 12th of February, which is the 12th day in the year of 2023, and you could do the 2 times 2 times 3, giving you the 12. So this is 12, 12, 12. If you really look at the date in a more esoteric fashion. Now the 12, 12, 12 adds up to 36. And if you measure from the Super Bowl Sunday until the spring equinox, it is exactly 36 days. So the spring equinox is very important this year. It's March 20th. It is the 79th day of the year, 79th day of the year, and that ties back to gold. We were talking earlier about the gold symbolism, and that is the 79th element, gold. March 20th also has a standard date numerology of 12. Amazing. Chinese New Year had the date numerology of 12. The Super Bowl has the date numerology of 12, and the equinox has the date numerology of 12. 12, 12, 12, all tied to this Super Bowl. So also consider that 79 equals the 22nd prime number, and we're in the 2022 NFL season. Ukraine in English ordinal and Chaldean cipher equals 79 and 22, and they have the same exact colors of all the teams that won this year. So, it's amazing. This is making sense why the teams with gold were winning in 2022, specifically the gold and blue. So, but we do have an anomaly with the Houston connection for sure that we made earlier. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper into this State Farm Stadium. You could see Mercury giving us the 103, and this 23 year we're in the 103rd NFL season, and it will be in Phoenix, Arizona, which ties to that term, the phoenix rising from the ashes, which gives you 103. And you could see right here that State Farm, which is the name of the stadium the Super Bowl will be at, is also adding up to 103. So Super Bowl 57 will be in Glendale, Arizona, Phoenix suburb, and Phoenix giving you 36. And that esoteric date numerology for the Super Bowl giving you the 12, 12, 12 or 36. We're 36 days from the vernal equinox tied to Venus and the rabbit, with the Phoenix symbolism being the red, orange, and yellow or gold. But red is important. It connects with the Chiefs uniform. So we also have to remember, though, that the Phillies lost the last World Series, and they do have red in their symbol. Not as much red, though, as this tie to the Phoenix. I think the Phoenix being this pure red and gold color is much more like the Chiefs uniform than it is like the Eagles uniform. So here we are. This is something I found this morning. It was shared with me by another member, Dustin, I believe, not Tom Cruise. Shout out to him, OG Wolf. And I did not even know about this, but I knew that Rihanna would be at this Super Bowl doing the halftime show. I was sent this picture, so I quickly went over to watch the video of the Apple Music advertisement for Super Bowl 57, where I guess Rihanna will be releasing her new album. And even in the beginning of this advertisement, it starts with numbers. They talk about a number sequence, which I believe adds up to 7 years, because it's been about 7 years since her last album. Just like the Shemitah is a 7-year cycle. Really interesting. But here, it seems crazy to decode her hair, but I think this was done very intentionally. And I'm just picking up the 369 right off the bat. The 3, the 6, and the 9 right there. Pretty amazing. You guys are probably aware of the 369 code. So this is all about energy, frequency. If you want to know about the universe, you have to look at it through that lens. And just get into some of the numbers here and what's going on with this clear, Mason hand sign. at the 25-second mark of this advertisement, which is only 30 seconds long, she puts up the vow of secrecy, you know, the shh. And that is 25 seconds. Rabbit equals 25. And this is an Apple Music ad. Apple equals 25. And her tattoo on her pointer finger actually says shh, spelled out SHHH. And that pointer finger is associated with Jupiter. Okay, it's the Jupiter finger, the pointer finger, what you point with. And remember, Jupiter symbol of the staff, also of the eagle, the oak tree, as well as the lightning bolt, because that is what you point out. Your pointer finger is the magic wand. That is where you shoot the lightning bolt out. All about magic. But she's holding up this vow of secrecy. You could see, shh. This is her tattoo, by the way. I'm not making this up. It's right there on her finger. It equals 25. Secret equals 25. Silence equals 25. And the reason they're keeping the silence is because of the wisdom. Because what they are getting from the ancient Egyptian mystery schools, which is taught to these people who are all bloodline related. And by the way, I should have thrown this in there, but I forgot. Rihanna is from Barbados. And if you look at the flag of Barbados, it is literally the same color scheme, yellow or gold and blue. And it has the trident on it. And that trident is a symbol of Neptune or Poseidon, water symbolism. But basically the flag of Ukraine, Golden State Warriors colors, Los Angeles Rams colors, the same color scheme is the flag of Barbados. So of course she needed to do the halftime show. And you could see this is actually me copy and pasting the Super Bowl LVII halftime show. I copy and pasted that off of this YouTube video, and that adds up to 322. So we know we're in the 223 year, the Skull and Bones year, and it's Skull and Bones secret society, and she's showing you that she's keeping her secrets. All right? Okay, so Skull and Bones was formed 191 years ago. That's an important number because 191 is the 43rd prime number. Yale equals 43, which is the college for that secret society. The Rams, who won the last Super Bowl, that's how I determined a positive number connected to them, the 43. The total points between both teams was 43 points, which is the 14th prime. And LA Rams equals 14. Ram was coming back to the number 14. During the Shemitah, the rabbi blows the ram's horn, the shofar. It was all a Shemitah ritual. That's why the Rams won in the year of the tiger against the Bengal Tigers. So we're getting this 43rd prime to this particular year of the 223 year. So I believe this will still maintain a positive connotation. The 43 and the 14 will still be positive in plain English. Skull and Crossbones adds up to 223, the year we're in. And Skull and Crossbones without the and written, just the ampersand, you're going to get 57 Chaldean. And we're in Super Bowl 57 in the 223 year, the mirror of the 322, of course. And all of this symbolism here is essentially tied to biting the apple. This is an Apple Music ad, and that has to deal with the forbidden fruit. Okay, so this is very deep connection that I wasn't even planning on adding until last minute. It just kind of struck me. I was thinking about the Trail of Tears or the Indian Removal Act, which is a negative energy. And I was thinking about Native American symbolism tied to the arrowhead or tied to the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, the chief. And you guys know that I call us the wolves, the lone wolves that have come together into this community to be a family. And it's funny how the Kansas City logo or their mascot is the wolf. So could be a little biased why I want to pick them, but that again, it's all Native American symbolism. And that's what I want to focus on right now with this Trail of Tears connection. The Indian Removal Act, which you can see happened enacted by the 21st U.S. Congress. Saturn equals that 21. 7 plus 7 plus 7, the 3 sevens equals 21, all tied to Saturn. And Skull and Bones is a symbol of death or the Grim Reaper. They call Grim Reaper death, and that is Saturn, Father Time, but it's also the skull. So it's really amazing how in the same cipher, Grim Reaper and Rihanna is back, both give you 110, and that was the title of the YouTube video for the ad by Apple Music for that Rihanna Super Bowl commercial. Okay? So I'm just copy and pasting the exoteric, and I'm looking at the code, and it's plain as day. She is the Grim Reaper, and she is back with her album 7 years later, just like a Shemitah. So yeah, she is coming back for her jubilee, I guess. And this is very, very important. The fact that the formation of Skull and Bones was in 1832, and this Trail of Tears happened between 1830 and 1850. But if you go to this article and you read about the Trail of Tears, you'll see specifically in 1831, the Choctaw become the first nation to be removed in this process called the Indian Removal Act, and it happened in 31. And 1831 was a year of the rabbit. Mind-blowing. All connected to Saturn, all connected to Skull and Bones. We're in the Skull and Bones year, rabbit year when this first occurred. Wow. Now, this has a very negative connotation to it. So, Skull and Bones formed during the Trail of Tears, or Indian Removal Act, and this was done by President Andrew Jackson, and Andrew Jackson adds up to 138. Which ties us back to that 57th element that I was showing you, lanthanum, another 57 connection to this specific Super Bowl. So now we're going to start we're finalizing the determination of the energy of these numbers. And based on the last slide, it seems that there is a big connection between the rabbit year, Skull and Bones, and the Native Americans, the Chiefs. So we're currently in the year of the rabbit, and it's the 2023 year, the 223 year, tied to Skull and Bones. And on top of that, we have the Kansas City flag matching the flag of France, who was the team that lost the World Cup. Now, the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Astros both winning championships in 2017 and 2022, and the Eagles winning the 2017 Super Bowl does support the idea that the Eagles would also win in this 2022 Super Bowl, considering that the Warriors and the Astros have that connection to 2017 and this year. So then all three teams would be winning this time. So it would make sense to make that assumption. But let's get into some notes. The Eagles lost Super Bowl number 15. Jalen Hurts broke the record, scoring 15 rushing touchdowns as a quarterback, which completes his number 15 ritual. The quarterback for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, wears number 15, and this Super Bowl is for the 2022 NFL season, which was technically during the year of the Tiger, equaling 15. The only other Missouri team that Andy Reid, the head coach of the Chiefs, coached was the Missouri Tigers. Missouri Chiefs, Missouri Tigers, tying you back to the Tiger. And this is important because Andy Reid is the current Chiefs head coach. Now, the other coach of the Eagles, Nick Sirianni, is going into this game with a record of 25-12. These are both key numbers that were coming up for the word rabbit. We're in the year of the rabbit. Rabbit equals 25 full reduction and 12 Chaldean. He's also 41 years old, which is the 13th prime number. And 13 seems to work in favor of the Eagles. And in their only Super Bowl win back in 2017, they scored 41 points. And here, this coach is 41 years old. Sirianni also equals 93, which ties to Saturn in the same cipher, the 93. We know we're in the Skull and Bones year. And Sirianni also equals 123 in a reverse cipher. And his next birthday is 123 days after this Super Bowl. Insane connection. But this is just showing you how the energy is starting to cancel itself out, and it really makes this decode very, very difficult. So in summary, you can see there's multiple instances of number one connection basically, canceling out one or the other. This is multiple times now that this has happened throughout this decode. And just a couple examples. Messi wins the World Cup wearing number 10, but the San Francisco 49ers quarterback, number 10, gets essentially sacrificed. We have one positive and one negative. Cancel them out. Then we have the Chiefs win a Super Bowl scoring 31 points, and then they lose a Super Bowl scoring 31 points. Meanwhile, the Eagles won their last game over the 49ers with 31 points. Again, energy just canceling itself out. Then you have an 86, the Houston team loses during the year of the Tiger, and in 2022, the Houston team wins during the year of the Tiger, canceling itself out. Both teams in this Super Bowl have air symbolism, the eagle and the arrowhead, as well as both teams and quarterbacks have ties to Jupiter symbolism, canceling itself out. The Major League Baseball Phillies wear red. They lost the last World Series, and the Chiefs wear red in the NFL. We haven't seen the game yet, but these are just some data points. We have the NBA team, the Boston Celtics. They wear green. They lost the last NBA Finals, and the Eagles wear green. So we have the red loses and the green loses. And then coming up soon in this NFL Super Bowl, we have a red versus green. And remember, these teams have never faced each other in a Super Bowl before, and both teams have never played a Super Bowl during the Year of the Rabbit, canceling out. This decode is incredibly technical and very, very difficult. And I'm not just pulling out these years like 86 and 2017 out of nowhere. I'm tying it back to connections where we could see clearly the symbolism, the state, the team, the mascot, everything is connected to this, even the Chinese year we're in. So here is the gems, all right? And this is where I'm making my final connections to wrap this all up. In the 1999 NFL season, which was during the Year of the Rabbit, Super Bowl 34, the St. Louis Rams won with 23 points. So last Super Bowl, I was able to determine the Rams would win because of the connection to 43 and 14. And 43, 34, as above, so below. Now, KC equals 14. So we have that positive connection to Kansas City. We were still talking about those being positive numbers, 14, 43. 43, and then 14 is the prime number. So they won Super Bowl 34, and this was the St. Louis Rams, but then they became the Los Angeles Rams, and then now they have that 43. Amazing. And you could see they won with 23 points, and here we are in the 23 year. So LVI equals 43 English ordinal. That is the current Super Bowl. Or no, excuse me, that's the last Super Bowl we had. 43 English ordinal, and the only other Super Bowl they won was the 34th Super Bowl. So besides the last Super Bowl they played, they won Super Bowl 34, is what I'm trying to say. And then they scored 23 points to win both games. Just remember that St. Louis is in Missouri, okay? So St. Louis is in the state of Missouri, just like the Chiefs, and they were established 1 year after the Shemitah in 1995. And here we are, the Kansas City Chiefs are in Missouri, and we are 1 year after the Shemitah and in the same Chinese year of the Rabbit. This is huge in favor of the Chiefs. Now, this is where it gets really wild. In the 1987 NFL season during the Year of the Rabbit, getting kind of lost over here. So in the 1987 NFL season during the Year of the Rabbit, Super Bowl 22, we're currently in the 2022 season now, technically. The Washington Redskins won with 42 points, beating the Broncos by 32 points. Total of 32 points above them. And Chiefs equals 32, Kansas City equals 32. Redskins quarterback Doug Williams, this is where it gets crazy, okay? The guy over here, he was the first black quarterback to ever start and ever win. He was the first to win a Super Bowl, and he also won Super Bowl MVP. Think about this 42. They scored 42 points, and he was the first black quarterback ever to start and win a Super Bowl, just like Jackie Robinson wore the number 42, prolific black athlete. This is amazing, because the Redskins changed their name to the Commanders, and that also equals 42. So this is just a ritual, all right? The Redskins, of course, ties back to the Native Americans, just like the Chiefs, all right? So this is a connection between this guy and this guy. And now here we are in this upcoming Super Bowl 57, and exoterically, of course, this is what the news is saying, that Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts to be the first black quarterbacks to face off at a Super Bowl. The first, while this guy was the first. And this is all tied into the Year of the Rabbit being a significant ritual tied with the number 42. This is amazing. So, emphasis in both of these games was on race, as they like to play once in a while. So what better time than in the same Year of the Rabbit? So both these final connections have me leading towards the Chiefs to be the phoenix rising from the ashes. So I am not using this as a prediction. This is a decode, but based on everything that I've shared thus far, this really solidifies who I think will be winning this one. I think there's just so much technicality, so much energy being canceled out in both directions. I didn't even really get into the astrology side of things because that's not my expertise. I believe Logan over at Decode Your Reality, he's probably going to have some gems. People in our community will probably have astrological gems to add. So I would love to hear some of your guys' thoughts. I might make a follow-up video to this that's much shorter, maybe less than 10 minutes long if I change my mind. But as of now, I feel like there's a negative connection here with the Eagles, regardless of all the positive things that were coming up. And the Chiefs are going to replay the ritual tied to Doug Williams. Okay? This is a very, very unique analysis that I'm sharing with you guys. Doug Williams being the first black quarterback ever to start and win a Super Bowl and being tied to this rabbit year, massive to me. I think this is a huge connection. So all in all, I'm feeling that the Chiefs win. So feel free to subscribe to my website for any more updates, WatersAbove.com. I also just came out with a Twitter to prevent anyone from dealing with fake accounts. My official account, WatersAbove, kind of spelled a little weirdly, but I will be sharing updates over there. Another update for Patreon is I have a couple spots available for my expansion group coaching. It is fantastic how much involvement we've been getting lately. Now I'm doing a weekly voice chat hangout with the group about every Monday, as well as 2 monthly Zoom call meetings. They're my group coaching calls. Those are recorded. So if you're unable to make the meeting, you'll be able to watch the playback. That's a total of 6 meetings during the month. I'm trying to get it to about 5 to 6 every month. So I'm really involved in this, and it includes my expansion mastermind course for free in that membership. So if you're interested, patreon.com/watersabove. I know you're all Patreons. So if you would like to upgrade your membership, you could easily do that by going to your settings inside of Patreon, go to memberships, and then you'll see the upgrade feature. If it's sold out for whatever reason, you could feel free to send me a message and I could kind of see where you're at with things, open up a spot for you. And I also have some spots available if you're looking to book a one-on-one call, a consultation call, and that is through my website, WatersAbove.com. You'll see book a call in the tab. So looking forward to hearing your guys' feedback on this decode. I appreciate every single one of you. Much love.